Hello. Hi. So, Happy New Year to everybody. I know for many people it may not be a happy or a great start, or not, as some people say, not much difference between the last year and this year already. But welcome to this first Insta Live by Rang in collaboration with Nestam Sojesk and Life Gets Beautiful today. Good to be here. New joinees or our regular followers, regular listeners. Welcome, everybody. We're just waiting for Deepthi to, actually, I think, sort something out with the. Hello, Deepthi, can you hear me? Either with their audio or video. But I mean, these technical issues are inevitable, especially I think sometimes when Ritash, one of the co-founders of Rang, an intersectional queer collective which is present pan-India. We are about 4.5 years old. We registered last year, that is around July 2024. And we've been doing, Insta Lives and close group meetings for about a couple of years. But the Insta Lives, on the trot, happened from around June, July 2023. And then Nestam and Life Gets Beautiful Today came on board around December 2020. December 2023. And then, so collaboratively also, we've done it more than for a year. Deepthi, is everything okay? 1 second. Okay. Yeah. Hi. Sorry, sometimes we have these inevitable technical issues. Deepthi, if you can hear from me, please ensure you're using only the phone for this Insta Live. If you try to do it from any other device that is, like your desktop on your PC or laptop or any tab or, iPad, it won't work. Yeah, or just like you did just now, you can also resend the invite. I had done it, you accepted, but for some reason can't see you or, but anyway, well, we will wait. Okay, 1 second. They have also accepted your invite. Maybe you want to rejoin. Okay, I think we're almost there. Let's see. I think our Instagram also went on a year-end, year-beginning holiday break. Okay. Meanwhile, we see some, familiar names. Yeah, long-term friends, followers, and some new people, because that's also the thing, right? And just to keep the conversation going, Rang expands to research and action for nurturing gender and other intersecting identities. It's not loading for me. You've accepted the request. Uh, Deepthi, sorry, you want to rejoin or just do an audio for some time, and then we'll see if, uh, you know, maybe you might, there are multiple things you can do. You can just restart your phone, okay? Or, and then that will reset everything. Maybe your Instagram is frozen or something. Or, yeah, 1 second. Or, 1 second. Sorry. Mm, mm, then- oh, mm. Okay, people. Yeah. So as I was saying, by um, Deepthi tries to sort things out. So Rang offers mental health support and referrals. Legal referrals for intersectional queer trans people pan India. Um, and then also we do these multilingual first person or audiovisual conversations because we believe that they are very much required. Okay. And each narrative is so meaningful, powerful, insightful, touching, and the idea is overall to spread queer joy and love, which unfortunately it doesn't seem to be enough. Or sometimes people feel insecure and threatened. I don't know why. Yeah, because we are also humans like everybody else, and are there everywhere. Being queer is not an urban western concept, or only for English speaking people. Of course not. We in India or South Asia should not be saying that at all. Anybody anywhere should not be saying that. And then our collaborators, Nestam Sojesk and, um, is oh, Andhra Pradesh based. It's a southwestern Indian state for people who are joining from abroad. They work at the grassroots with high schools. The founders are also originally like me. From the corporate this thing. One of them is from the IT industry. Okay, yeah, Deepthi, 1 second. Yeah, and it's very difficult. So for them to talk about gender and sexuality, especially for high school students, because institutional embargoes are there all the time. And they also have a very active support group for various intersectional queer trans people, LGBTQIA plus people in Vizag, do offline and online events. Deepthi, I sent the request, or you could send me the request. Uh, yeah. And hi. Okay. Hey.
Wait, I should.
Great. Yeah, this is inevitable though. Sometimes these technical issues.
Yeah.
Hello. Great to see
Hello.
you. Happy 2025. Yeah. And I think there is some, bandwidth issue. Okay. While it's wonderful seeing your lovely smile and your beautiful dimples and everything, you know, uh, one suggestion, Deepthi, temporarily, maybe you want to switch off your video. Oh my gosh. Okay. Really sorry about this, people. Um, I think it's largely a connection or a bandwidth issue. So yeah, then, but it's great because we are getting time to, talk about our collectives, especially at the beginning of this new year, in 2025. Um, the other collective is Life Gets Beautiful Today, started by queer trans students who are in. Hey, Shiva. Shiva, you will join. Deepthi is having some major bandwidth and connectivity issues, so I will send you the request. I just finished introducing Nestam, so just Shiva. Okay, yeah. So hey, Deepthi, you're back. Okay. Then, apart from that, Life Gets Beautiful Today, started by queer trans students, they're all college students in Telangana and in Maharashtra. Uh, so, sorry about my video. Okay. Yeah, getting a little sweaty here. Yeah. So yeah, in Life Gets Beautiful Today, people also do various kinds of offline and online support while they are also navigating their own challenges as young queer trans people. So uh, which is why also sometimes or many times, in fact, you've seen only me from Rang, co-hosting these lives. But actually, the other people at Rang also, let me say, they're camera shy, so they don't necessarily, join these lives except in a silent mode. Shiva, are you there? I'm sending you an invite. Okay. Yeah. So Shiva, is an ace non-binary person, one of the founders of Nestam Sojesk. They were previously in the IT industry. They do this very tough job of, while teaching STEM subjects, also talk about gender and sexuality among teenagers in high school, of course, with consent, in Telugu, which is one of the, Southern Indian languages, and also English. Okay, so yeah, one second. Let's see. Technology and connectivity is giving us a tough time today. Shiva is also not able to join. Oh, wow. But it is definitely not any issue at my end because things are going good here. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So the thing that also I wanted to talk about with Deepthi, a bit of it, I would like to say. Uh, yeah, Dipti, what happened? Oh gosh. Mm, one second. Ah, okay. Dipti, please join audio mode. Okay. Yeah. So the various things that Deepti's been involved, they're a polyglot. They've worked in the corporate sector for quite some time in India in various places. They are, they speak fluent in English, Hindi, Tamil, Telugu, and maybe even Kannada. They've done translations, editing, across languages. They've been associated very closely also with Orinum, one of the well-known and long-term queer trans collectives based in Chennai, but I think their outreach is much far and beyond that. Though they also co-host Real Desires, a long-running queer film festival. So Deepthi has been on the selection committee for that. Deepti's been involved with Chennai Queer Cafe, again, which is a cafe run in Chennai, uh, southern Indian coastal city, the capital of Tamil Nadu. Uh, you know, in one second, please. Yeah. So Deepti's been part of, a support group for that. She also ran a podcast, with in collaboration with another person called Kaushik. Again, they were featuring conversations with various queer trans people. Okay. So, all right. So, I think the only thing to do currently uh, is perhaps to. Hmm. Hello, Deepthi. Uh, Please join only in audio mode. Use only audio, Deepthi. Please switch off your video. Mm. Okay, I will have to pause this for a few seconds. Sorry about that, to see what's happening and we can do. Okay, thank you. Uh, Hello, Deepthi, can you hear me at least? Can you start talking? I don't know. It's your video is frozen. Okay. Um. Otherwise, maybe you know. Uh, mm, okay. While Deepthi still continues trying, I like it. When none of us ever give up, right? We just continue, because I think this is also a reflection of how life is. Um, so, Deepthi, you know, has been open about her identity for a while, and has been quietly but in the background giving lots of different kinds of support to queer trans people across, especially the three southern cities of Chennai, Hyderabad, and Bangalore. But I'm sure her work extends much beyond that. Okay, and this is more voluntary work, uh, and that is not easy to do, especially when you're balancing so many personal and other professional commitments, and then more so because there are ups and downs in everything. Sometimes terrible things happen. Plus, also that when when you're a queer AFAB person, life becomes that much more difficult. Okay, and like so many other people, Deepthi has, actually surpassed all that and been decided to be open about her identity, uh, intersectional queer person, and she's also a feminist. But at the same time, actually, um, you know, uh, we know for sure there's so much suppression, so much of what do I say? Literally conflicts, fights for space, physical and otherwise, within the queer trans community, LGBTQIA plus community, and but to be able to um, manage our own lives, commitments, plus also uh, reach out regularly, and more so in crisis situations, is one has been one of Deepti's fortes. I can say this for sure because I've known her. Initially, it was only remote conversations and all that because we are in different places. I'm in Bangalore, and Bangalore and Hyderabad are not nearby. Bangalore and Chennai is also much nearer than, but then, and I've also been largely spending much of my life among these cities only. Of course, I've been in other places too. So, yeah, and the dynamics are very different from one place to the other, right? So, to be able to manage and continue uh, Deepthi is still trying, you know, okay, and yeah, so thanks to all who have been so patient with us, now and even in earlier lives. These are always, not like interviews, but free flowing conversations. And yeah, many times people who are going live for the first time ever, or, with us, um, always ask, what should I prepare? What is it going to be on, and everything? And we just say, no, it's going to be about you, yourself, your work, volunteerism, your life, your challenges, achievements, needs. And that is so important. That's the great feedback that we've been receiving, which is very encouraging. Get lots of offline feedback too, that these conversations are so important. And with due respects to all the much more well-known queer trans people worldwide, in India, South Asia, some of them are like celebs. Uh, we have nothing against them, but we usually do not try to go after them. We are not even trying to create celebs here. But yeah, I think it's great that we get so many, uh, people who are doing such fantastic work and very quietly, and then are able, are, what do I call that? Mm, and still not mentioned, recognized. Not they're doing it for that sake, but the idea is for us to spread that information about such people, not just in India, luckily in various serendipitous ways, or with persistence, requests. The queer trans connections worldwide have been fantastic. People have been so supportive, so interested, so keen. Yeah, and so again, this is our way of expressing gratitude and love uh, to all the people who, without even knowing us, have trusted us to just enter longish conversations. Uh, Deepthi, is it some permission issue at your end? Oh gosh. Uh, yeah, and then we have discussed so many issues, right from say recently with Yashika, who's a postgraduate in human rights. We did not know that there's such a course exists. I have been involved from time to time facilitating sessions on human rights for a diploma offered in collaboration with one of the well-known colleges, which has now become a university in Bangalore, along with a couple of non-profits. But the Yashika is a Dalit trans woman from UP, but studied in Punjab, and they have done some phenomenal work. Yes. Hello. Mm, yeah. So, like, for instance, you know, Yashika has done some great work, on inclusive hostel accommodation on their campus and creation of uh, a transgender uh, rights cell. Yeah, and then apart from that, like that, then similarly we met people who are in Canada, in London. They are specifically very diverse age groups, but obviously a person like I am is panromantic, gender fluid, with invisible disabilities and neuroqueer. Similarly, we've had you know, like that very diverse aces. Yeah. Hello, Deepthi. Oh gosh, again. Deepthi, would you like to go only into audio mode again? Yeah. Yeah. So we've talked about, people who are working in climate change, who are working in travel industry, who are working in media, in STEM, teaching, learning, like that. And then, again, people, we've talked with indigenous queer trans people, right, in US, but originally from Dominican Republic. We've talked with, uh, you know, um, people who are African American or Black with physical disabilities and queer trans, people of East Asian origin, um, like Filipino origin, and other countries in Southeast Asia and East Asia who have been in the US. They're musicians, somebody who works in as theater professional and does lots of background work for theater, people across the various age groups, uh, and definitely, people who are in law, in medicine. Yeah, we've had time, um, people who are open. I mean, because we are very this thing that there should be queer trans representation in healthcare, in law, or any kind of field, and we have many such people also coming up. for the Insta lives. Yeah. So, and then so all these people give an insight to how things are in their country. Even in India, sometimes district to district, various things change within the same state, different parts of India, different communities, collectives, some individuals. You know, we've had people who say how, like, sometimes the either in their law course or medicine course or dentistry course, whichever, or for that matter, in anything that they're studying or working on. Sometimes people are not directly, but they are indirectly exclusionary, they ridicule, they stigmatize. Sometimes, like doctors and lawyers have told us, the queer trans people who are practicing, that the clients or the patients who come to them, they are not, because they are like, they just see us even whether they know or not that the person is queer trans. They do not want, because they just come to you as a person seeking a particular service or support. Very many times it is the professionals, like the seniors who have been there, who have been probably aware of laws and taken oath themselves, who are discriminatory, stigmatizing. And the idea for us to bring in so many diverse people is to actually say that, it's so important to actually bring in all these voices, and yeah, and then show that there are so many stories possible, so many narratives, because these are not just stories, these are lives. We can write about them, but then again, that might create a language divide, literacy divide. So sometimes these multilingual first person uh, audiovisual conversations are the ones which are most useful. Okay, Deepthi, I will. Yeah, I have sent Deepthi. Mm. Hello. Oh my,
Hello.
this is quite an achievement. Hi.
I swear I'm like, I have a laptop in front of me. I have two different phones and one more phone, my friend's phone. I'm trying to log in. I don't have my Instagram password. But yeah, I mean, I was literally like, can we do this another day while I figure this out? But I'm so sorry. I have no idea because I did do like a test run before this. That kind of worked fine. So I don't know where the issue actually is.
Yeah, I'll tell you where
I'm
the
so
issue
sorry.
is. I think, Instagram is jealous of the love that we both have for each other.
I swear,
Or maybe
really,
they're
man.
still,
I mean,
in a global north frozen Christmas New Year mode, and their holiday season's not over, right?
yeah,
Yeah, I'm not trying to
yeah,
trivialize, but I'm just thinking, like, better to take it with this kind of way. Yeah, so just take a deep breath,
yeah,
and,
yeah,
and drink some
yeah,
water if you want to. Thank you so much,
yeah.
okay, for trying relentlessly. This is a fantastic
Oh,
example of how we are, no? Many of us
hmm.
resilient, right? Yeah.
I swear. I mean, I have like, I'm ready. I was like, I did the test thing like about 10 minutes before the actual live, and I was telling all my friends who logged, like 4 or 5 of them did log in when I was doing the testing. I was like, no, no, the actual live is at 8:30, log in
So
then,
sweet.
and all that
Yeah.
testing.
Yeah.
And now it's like
Good,
half
good,
hour of back and forth.
good. You know what? Actually, I mean, Shiva, unfortunately, whom again we know, may so many common friends, and maybe
Right.
Deepthi, you have a big fan following also, I must say. Like, I was just going on and on mentioning your name periodically for the last 40 minutes almost. I don't believe that, but I just realized.
I
And
know.
everybody is still joining and saying hi and sending love and all that.
Hmm.
So, yeah, so,
Yeah.
so glad. Okay, so shall we start, Dipti?
Yes,
I've done some very
please.
detailed introduction and something what we wanted to do last year, matlab just a week ago before 2024 ended,
Right.
kind of summarizing all that. And, I think, this was just perfect timing that had to happen. Yeah,
It's such a detailed introduction.
yeah, detailed introduction, summary, reflection. Okay.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So yeah, Deepthi. Um, what do you want to talk about? I know you do so many things so quietly, so relentlessly, so patiently, you know. Um, so I know you're multilingual, you literally
Yeah.
not just multifaceted, but also you've been doing all your work almost, I mean, voluntarily, but consistently in so many places, right? Yeah. So, is
Yeah.
it a fair question to ask? How do you manage being in so many places always? Yeah. And so quietly doing so many things. I don't even know if it's a fair question, but I want to know, right?
So it's actually because of people like you who love me so much that I am like, known in places, but otherwise I've actually been quite, you know, I've not been very out in queer spaces in the last 1.5 year. I'm kind of trying to focus on work, moved to Hyderabad year and a half back, but I'm still trying to, in the queer spaces here, I'm trying to see where I can get movie screened. Work does keep me busy for the last 6 months at least, but before that, here in Hyderabad, there are a lot of upcoming queer spaces, a lot of them doing a lot of great things. So it's been on and off going to small events here and there. It's nice to again, like a lot of times when I talk to them and when I tell them, I'm like, oh, I worked in, Chennai, volunteered in Chennai spaces. They're like, oh, do you know that person? Do you know that person? Then I'm like, oh, I did like live in Bangalore a bit. And then some other person will be like, oh, you know them. So I love how connected the queer network is. I love that about like any city anybody wants to go. There's somebody who can like help out, and there's somebody who can like connect you to somebody. So that way I feel again, me coming back to the question, me being everywhere, I think it's just like the number of people I feel who will benefit out of any little bit that I do. When I see that, I'm like, it's okay, thoda effort I will put, because the thoda effort sometimes ends up translating into so much more for people. So that's kind of what, and for me in my personal life also, the kind of relationships I've built over the years, just because of being in queer spaces, has personally benefited me a lot, which is kind of what drives me most of the time to do anything, especially in queer spaces.
Sure. Yeah, yeah. Lovely, insight you gave. And, the other thing which connects with, and I was actually like, why did I not, he, nahi? I mean, in a way, I'm going to, though, whether they are to see it or later, shift the responsibility partly to Shiva. Why did we not, host this conversation with you earlier? But never mind. Better late than never. are, and yeah, and I know that you've also been following many of these conversations for a while, right? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
So, and also, by the way, people who are going to watch or listen now or later, or read the captions, Deepthi and my mother also share a
yeah,
very strong, loving bond. I always say she's first my mom's friend than rather than
yeah,
mine. Okay, because yeah, but anyway, so that's the thing, actually, returning to what you were saying, yes, since I know bits and pieces of, your life, which itself has you've gone through so much, but you've also, being such a selflessly giving person, and I'm saying this as a friend rather than, just as like, because it is so difficult, especially in our lives, okay, queer trans lives, LGBTQIAP plus lives, intersectional queer lives, whatever, in contemporary India, that too with some of us having privileges. Sometimes those privileges do not help in any way. Actually, they sometimes are,
yeah,
yeah, um, uh, what do I say? They can be a bugbear, actually, right? For instance,
yeah.
yeah, right, yeah, sorry, continue. Yeah, I would
No, no,
like
no, go
you to
on, go
say.
on. You finish your
No, no,
point.
no. Yeah, so all I was saying was that, because, for instance, I am not saying, yes, oh, it maybe like we have privileges and we don't realize or something like that. I'm not trying to say that at all. All I'm saying is that, for instance, being middle class, city raised, multilingual with qualifications, corporate experience, English speaking, blah, blah, blah. All these are given
Hmm.
advantages, right? But yet,
Yeah.
you know, sometimes, like you said, right, we have to kind of so much keep ourselves down and low, not be open about our identities, not be out, in fact, try to suppress it, and I think, unfortunately, that's also true for you, right, to some extent, Deepthi.
I don't know if I would necessarily say that I've suppressed certain identities, but I think I like, for example, the uh, caste layer, right? Growing up, I'm not a Brahmin, but relatively privileged caste. So I've like only in retrospect I've noticed a lot of casteism used to happen growing up around me, which like growing up I would be like, oh, I don't know what my caste is. Now I know that that was a privilege. And I think a lot of times it has taken conversations with people who were grateful enough to have these conversations, although especially conversations around caste or conversations around gender or even sexuality sometimes can be very traumatizing because they have to literally relive through their trauma
True. Yeah.
to make sure the other person understands it. And I'm very thankful to people who have taken the time and effort to to sit with me through those conversations. I'm very thankful, and I think it's the openness to listen to other people, because like even when we say queer person, it's not one queer person, it's millions of lived experiences. So in the same way, even as a human, it's millions of lived experiences and it's unfair to generalize anything. So I feel like over the years, over the conversations, over the people I have met, it's the right thing probably to do is to be open to whatever the other person has to say, not look at their face or look at their clothes and be judgmental about them.
Okay. Yeah.
So I
Right.
think what has helped is the thousands, like probably not thousands, but hundreds of people who've had that space to have those conversations and fortunately, me at that point being open to listen to those conversations has, I think, helped me not suppress what I have, but then be welcome to what everybody has to bring in themselves.
Okay, thanks, and fantastic perspective, and very, very forthright, of course. Yeah. So, okay, what I was, I think, trying to get at, or again, this is my this thing that sometimes, I, at least for me, even now, um, if I have to exist, even forget surviving, thriving, okay,
Hmm.
in the very savarna, heteronormative, cishet spaces, um,
Hmm.
much as part of me stands out, especially because people know, that I am closely associated with pure trans people. Uh, Somehow I'm still unable to completely say that I'm queer. Yeah,
Hmm.
and it's also partly because I think, these are the people with whom I have a different sort of relationship. They're not necessarily friends
Hmm.
for a long time. They're more like, caring neighbors, whatever, those kind of things. Yeah, it's a mix
Hmm.
and in age and so many things. Plus, also, I think some of them have a very specific understanding of trans and maybe gay, like it is in some parts of India and the world. And so, which is why, and then if you have not been open right from to start with the name, you also know about the name
Hmm.
change that I went through, if not officially, right?
Right.
So, so difficult to get it across that it's not that I don't want to and I cannot really. If I put my foot down, I can assert myself, but it's just so tiring, you know.
It is.
It's no
Yeah.
just about convenience. Yeah, it's just exhausting. Like you said, na. See, they say reliving, revisiting your trauma is healing sometimes and all that, but sometimes it can just get, um, irritating also beyond the point. But just start
Yeah.
with irritation and go like, yeah, yeah. So that is
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
so that was what I was trying to say. But
Yeah.
that need not be that experience for somebody, like, for everybody. But I'm just saying, like, okay.
Yeah.
And yeah. So, returning to, a little bit about, yeah, I mean, you were talking about reliving the trauma, and that is when I thought I should ask you again, uh, you know, um, it's so nice that we both acknowledge our mutual love. And one of the commonalities that we both have is that we went for this peer support providing
Hmm.
course, course training, whichever you call it. And I think you were part of the first cohort, right, Deepthi? With the
Yeah.
Safe
Yeah.
Access Marivala thing. And it was also online, I think, right, for you, right?
Yes.
So, yeah.
It was online.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. In fact, I mean, it just, I think, almost started at the correct time in a way that many of us who were in the thick of things during the first lockdown itself realized that peer counseling has become a million times more important, even for people who had
Yeah.
not thought of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the trained, the professional, queer affirmative counselors who are themselves not queer, yeah, openly closet, whatever, were just not able to handle things beyond a point. Yeah, that's what I found, almost like a sudden, a need for this, and I think somehow this course came in very handy. So, I mean, needless to say, I think many of these kind of trainings, sort of help us also heal, right, Deepthi, and get better coping
Yeah.
mechanisms. Do you want to say a little bit about that?
Sure. Absolutely. And I think it was during COVID. It was a 6 month
Yeah.
thing. But even before that, because I have been volunteering with Orinum since 2011, 12.
Yeah.
So since then, on and off, there would be women who would call in about the situation they're in, mostly crisis situations, and a lot of them would be comfortable talking to somebody who's a woman. So Ramki would send over the details, and I would reach out to them. So I kind of and Ramki always had the plan ki okay, we need to officially train ourselves. We can't just go by the flow. It will not be right. And we would also discuss things. And whenever I like get blocked with a situation, I would reach out to Ramki. So we've kind of been learning from each other sort, but he always would be like, no, we need to do this formally, but we never really got around to do it because there were quite a few other people who would volunteer with Orinum and who would kind of offer these services, like mostly telephone services, right? So when this official like peer support thing happened, I was very thankful. I wasn't sure what I was getting into, but in so many ways through the course, I discovered like my own hurt. It was really well done. It was exhausting mentally, but there were a lot of things I learned about how to communicate something, how to handle certain situations when when there are parents involved, or how to draw boundaries and how to sort of slowly make sure the person gets support from other places. That offering peer support, yes, it's available, but ideally it shouldn't be the only thing that you have, because we are also, as peer supporters, we are not like superhumans that will like help your whole life. That we're just like a stick that you get. Very untrained, I mean, certified peer counseling, yes, but we're still not like a therapist,
Right.
right? So we're just helping you, thoda thoda guiding you to like go in a particular direction. But a lot of things through the course I've learned about myself and how is the best way I can offer support, where I should draw my boundaries. So it was exhausting, informative, but I mean, personally for me, I really needed that course to help me for my own self as well.
Yeah, superb. That summarized this whole thing very well. Because I was in the second cohort, and for some reason I keep sorry, but sometimes over there in which cohort, and at that we were in different cohorts or whatever that we this thing.
Hmm.
That is almost similar to what happened. Like one people would urge, and this urge happens from my college days, which had nothing to do being about queer trans, but you're in a residential college far away from home, and somehow you're able to empathize with your peers a little more than anybody else, and also manage your studies, blah blah blah, keep yourself grounded. So when our queer trans community friends would give me direct feedback, okay, right? I mean, and that is when I also realized they were being called lay counselor. I was being okay, and
Hmm.
I was not being any of that because I was also going through a lot of emotional trauma,
Hmm.
exhausted and drained from caregiving and all that for my parents, my late father, and everything. So, and then here people are saying that, the fact that, yeah, you're able to handle and seeking support means that somewhere this is not weakness. Nobody can be strong forever, but this is actually another way of, understanding that you need to do self care, but in a more pragmatic. Lots of
Hmm.
I was getting lots of feedback, inputs, urging, and what I think really captured for me, like what I said a few minutes ago, no, like people, I mean, community people who've known me for a long time called and said, right? And I'll say this first because I know lots of people here know Telugu,
Hmm.
but I will also translate. So, Ritash, మమ్మల్ని వాళ్ళు ఏమో కౌన్సిలర్ అంట కన్ఫ్యూజ్ చేసి పెడుతున్నారు. దట్ టు మనమైతే హ్యాండిల్ చేస్తున్నాం. అక్కడ క్రైసిస్ సిచ్యువేషన్ లో ఉన్నారు. ఒక స్టేట్ వదిలేసి ఇంకొక స్టేట్ వచ్చారు, ఒక ట్రాన్స్ మ్యాన్ పార్ట్నరు. వాళ్ళు ఈ కౌన్సిలర్ దగ్గరికి వెళ్తే బాబోయ్ వాళ్ళు మమ్మల్ని తిడుతున్నారు, వాళ్ళు అవుతున్నారు, వాళ్ళు ట్రామటైజ్ అవుతున్నారు. ఏమైనా సరే నువ్వే మాట్లాడాలి అని. I was one side, I mean, I could completely visualize that because I was not at all surprised. Okay, that's some such thing. But I was shocked that, a pure, I'm sorry, a certified, what do you call, experienced queer affirmative professional, okay, is doing such so mess. I mean, while the terminology has changed for the, making it realistic, whatever, trans men, yes, they are less visible and all that, but it is not complete. Like something like, somebody like intersex. I'm saying this very much more because you have worked closely with, demystifying intersex people in various languages, right? And the realities and everything. I mean, all those are very interrelated. So, and I'm like, they can't understand the trans is, not the situational or the circumstantial ones, but broadly, right? Who is a trans man, trans mask, whichever, right? Whoever. Because the persons seeking that were also in Telugu, I think, mix or something, maybe some English. And I'm like, on one side, we are handling relief. Okay. On one side, trying to talk with, whether we like it or not, funders and other people who want to contribute, who need. I mean, so amidst this, how am I going to handle counseling that too for people who have, an adult couple of which one person is a trans man, the other person, whoever they identify, that didn't matter. And they are as bad or worse than giving, a wrong pill or wrong treatment, right? Like you say you are going to counsel a couple in a crisis situation. There is a legal crisis also in another state happening. Okay.
Yeah.
Space. And then, I mean, I almost want to go and ask those people, how dare you? Can't say beforehand, yes, right? And me being there, trying to handle their situation telephonically, whatever, is only going to worsen things. Finally, after this couple gave the feedback, and the supporting trans mask people, heard and said, just then that counselor admits, it seems, counselor, therapist, whatever, admits, it seems, sorry, I got confused. I mean, yeah. So it is unethical, unprofessional, and highly irresponsible of them, right? So then these, right. So, and I'm sure, Deepthi, you would have heard of such situations, kada. Like, I mean, you honestly said that, when you were doing these things voluntarily for Orinam, you people were admitting, and I know Ramki and trust and respect and love him so much. I mean, I know he will not do anything but then sometimes, I mean, as whether we say 2011, yeah. So, yeah, all I was trying to say was 2011 is not 2 decades ago, right? But we didn't have too many resources, cities, right, Deepthi? I think, which is why.
We didn't have a lot of resources, and it was all volunteer run. and there were no proper literature, language, labels even. Access to internet was not for everyone,
Mm,
and
mm,
whatever material was there was only in English. There was barely anything in regional languages, even now, for that matter.
right. Mm,
Yeah, this is something I fight in a lot of places that, queer literature, if not labels, at least the literature needs to, at least at this point, needs to start getting into regional languages. And
yeah,
I think that
yeah.
way, uh, you know, Tamil Nadu has done a good job. They've got it official.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's an important thing. But both of us also have a long-term association with Tamil Nadu. We can safely say that I think always Tamil Nadu sets the blazes the
Yeah.
trail. Sometimes it's
Yeah.
almost becomes a responsibility for them. Like people are always
Yeah.
looking towards. Oh, Tamil Nadu में भी नहीं हुआ तमिलनाडु ನಲ್ಲಿ ಕೂಡ ಆಗಿಲ್ವಾ ಆಮೇಲೆ ತಮಿಳ್ನಾಡುನಲ್ಲಿ ಕೂಡ ಆಗಲಿಯಾ ಮಾದ್ರಿ right and
Hmm.
they go
Hmm.
the whole hog. Yeah, I mean,
Hmm.
it's not that. I mean, when you're blazing a trail, it's a lot of challenge, it's a lot of responsibility. In a
Yeah.
way, it's almost can be a tiresome thing, also, right?
Yeah.
Because you don't have anything or anyone to fall back on, or
Yeah.
to refer or anything, right? You are doing it, and people might be following your example. That's also a big responsibility plus
Yeah.
accountability, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, the other
And
point,
then
yeah, sorry, continue, continue. I
and
was
I
just going to get another.
was going to
Mm.
I was going to rant a bit more about
Sure.
how in Tamil Nadu, like I don't think it was a state thing, or maybe it was like the whole NCRT training manual for teachers, right? I
Oh,
know
yeah.
Ramki worked on it for like almost 2, 3 years, and then it took whoever did it weeks to take it down, and they have a new one. And I remember asking because like the previous one that Ramki and all worked on was available online. So this time around, I was going to do some panel here in Hyderabad, and I wanted to bring this up. And I was asking Ramki, is it available online? Because I looked for it and I didn't find it. And then Ramki was like, no, it's not available online. Is there any literature about it apart from just news articles saying, oh, this has come? Um, so he said, no, there isn't really much, but from what I know, it only talks about I mean, when it comes to trans people, the book only addresses transgender at birth, which essentially is intersex.
Right, right, right. Mm.
Yeah, so I mean, again, something that, you know, queer people have collaborated to do that book, and the team from NCRT also was, very open to recommendations, and so much effort and time and lights and blood and sweat was put into it. And then we don't see the light of day. It doesn't see,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And also the couple of important points, you've shared. I mean, this is fantastic. You're talking about NCRT because in so many conversations that we've had in these Insta lives, we never brought that up so much. But although we've
Hmm.
talked a lot about what Nestam does with school students, but that again, they not, they do it from experience, which is also which is very important and very pragmatic way
Yeah.
of doing. But oh my gosh, I don't even know if there was even a few weeks for that whole NCRT thing to be reversed. But because I know the anger spilled out very fast against how
Yeah.
quickly they had undone it. And yeah, I mean, kudos to you, Bittu, Ramki, and so many of you who patiently did all this. But yeah, so coming to what also the earlier point that I was saying, that many of us, uh, you know, did multiple things, okay?
Hmm.
with minimal resources, infrastructure, everything, right? And
Hmm.
we were learning about ourselves, the rest of
Right.
our community, navigating our professional personal lives, which often overlapped. Okay,
Right.
and also trying to provide support. Okay, and
Yeah.
we were not doing anything unethical or unprofessional, because where the hell are the queer, forget peer counselors, where the hell are queer affirmative trained counselors, certified counselors? No. So we had no choice but to, like you, because you very openly admitted that you Ramki and all considered training yourselves, right?
Yeah.
But where was that wherewithal in terms of time, in terms of availability of trainers and courses, right? Okay. Be- yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. So I think if it is possible, a little bit insight, a little more insight into how, not so much about how you did it, but I think why. Because I think there was no end to the number of people. I mean, there's always, even now also, despite all so many organizations, groups, individuals, there's always an imbalance in the demand versus supply. I mean, I don't want to use those kind of terms, but at least the
Yeah.
need versus availability of
Yeah.
support, right?
Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah. Absolutely. I think, again, most of the time, like, unless it's made, it comes from the government or the court and it becomes a
mm,
mandate,
mm.
it's hard to make sure it is there. I mean, even with mandate, there are so many things that don't happen.
Correct.
Right, like reading down 377 happened, and
Right.
along with that, a lot of government officials were supposed to be sensitized.
Mm,
It doesn't seem like it is happening because
mm,
the kind of responses we get from, say, the police, if there is a crisis case, doesn't seem like they've been in any way aware. Right. So I feel like if, the Indian Psychiatric Society, I don't know, is it there? Does it exist? Anyway, so
yeah.
if there is, like, I think it does exist
Right.
because I remember they released a letter saying homosexuality is not an illness or something. But I
Yeah.
think if there is a mandate from them saying that, okay, the next 5 years goal is to make sure every counselor or therapist is queer affirmative or trauma informed or caste aware or caste trained to, understand caste trauma also. If it comes from there, it gets into the syllabus. Like, I
Mm,
know of people in Bangalore who are trying to do one semester, one paper we will have about, queerness,
mm,
right? If it comes from top, I think it then gets into spaces which, we as, activists or NGOs are pushing from this end. So a lot of people who are wanting to access therapy is a very small percentage already.
right.
People who come into queer spaces understand the language, and then they're like, okay, I need to probably go to therapy.
Mm,
But is everybody aware that they need to make sure they go to a queer affirmative therapist? Mostly no. Do they know the difference between queer friendly and queer affirmative? Probably not.
mm,
So again, even if there is, online stuff where they can go and read up about all this, it's mostly all in English. So again, you're not giving access to everybody that necessarily needs it.
mm,
So way too many barriers, and I feel like of some policy change will help as much as we are trying from our end, because like even in WhatsApp and Instagram groups. I'm on a lot of these WhatsApp and Instagram groups for queer people, created by queer people. And I don't engage a lot because a lot of conversations are like, oh, this movie, that movie. And I'm like, okay, sometimes I go, I read few messages and I'm like, okay, good, this, okay, I can see this movie. But there are times where I remember one group where this person was like, oh, my parents are forcing me to get married. Oh, no, I think it was the partner. So, and then thankfully, I noticed it that day and I was like, no, 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 this is the procedure. This is the procedure. Which city are you from? Kind of dig up information and then connected them to an NGO in that city. Thankfully, that city is one of the bigger cities where there was an NGO who I kind of knew somebody there. So I reached out to them and connected. So again, even with folks who have access to internet, have ability to read English, don't necessarily know what is the next step. So I think from queer, like as a part of what a queer group can do, what we can do is like talk about what the procedures are. For example, if there is a crisis, what is crisis? What can you do? How do you reach out to people? Can you just run away to a different city and live life? Probably not. We've been through so many situations. We've seen so many situations, and it's only fair to say that, okay, this is how you do it. And then, at least some people who have access to internet and some people who have access to English speaking, can read English, will have the access to what they can do. I don't know what the question was. I don't know what tangent I went
No, no,
on.
no, no. It's important. Let me tell you. I mean, I trust you, but and anybody else, even if I'm not known them for long, so with you, so the trust and comfort is so much more. Everything is interrelated. So these tangential are all organically we are going into those directions. So you're making lots of sense. Please continue. Okay. Yeah.
No, that was my point. That when it comes to queer affirmative therapists, I feel sorry, I feel there should be a change in the policy and what defines, like, who is a counselor? It should automatically be inclusive of queer affirmativeness, caste informed or trauma informed. All this should
Yeah.
be, in the counselor by default, which means their curriculum needs to change. I know efforts are being done in that direction, but not necessarily by the people who need to.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That is another crucial point. Plus, also, as you were saying, no, even people with the, I mean, sort of internet English, these two are major factors, especially in metros in terms of resources for queer people about, I mean, for us queer people about ourselves. Yet they are not able to, access because they don't know when to seek therapy, how to seek, where to seek. And then, of course, affordability is also a big thing because
Absolutely.
yeah, and you know about that very well that sessions are costing what not less than at least 1,000. What 1,000 seems to be actually on the lower side, 1,500, 2,000, right?
Yeah.
And if it is offline, then commute, right, which easily,
Yeah.
even unless there is some decent public transport, often even if it's an auto ride, easily a couple of 100 rupees, maybe even more,
Yeah.
right? So it is so difficult. Okay. And after all that, if really the person who is supposedly queer affirmative, just imagine this very major scenario, because also it's so crucial that you took that example of born transgenders actually intersex and all that. Many of them ఇప్పుడు they are not even aware of intersex except that I anta. Okay. So,
Hmm.
Andukani, I mean, I'm deliberately switching to Telugu, but sometimes also it's inevitable that, uh, sorry, that many people do not think, they think, I don't know, it's amazing, it's mind boggling that they think that intersex and bisexual are same. I mean, what even gives that idea? Or the other extremely wrong thing of, oh, they have both. Obviously we know what they mean by both, because it is not about hands, legs, eyes, ears. And it is, of
Oh
course, there are so many
no.
people who thrive in life with only one of these things. So, yet, when they mean both, they mean both fully developed genitalia, which is impossible biologically, scientifically, naturally, whatever. So, fundamentally, all I'm saying is, even in queer affirmative spaces, even in queer trans spaces, people do not understand intersex very easily. Okay, so what if this person is going, paying so much, spending time, energy, whatever, to that queer affirmative therapist, and those people don't even know some basics, right? So, or they know the very typical standard basics, right? And also, as you said, um, many times, finally, the people seek, they're not seeking therapy, they're often seeking support, affirmation, assistance, right? Because they're coming in a crisis mindset, right? Physically or telephonically or online, whatever. Okay.
Right.
And so they are, unfortunately, I don't think it's that time for them to start seeking therapy immediately. It is better that they talk to us first responders. I know many years ago there was no concept of first responders. Whoever was able to
Hmm.
give them the time and
Hmm.
whatever, that assurance, that's all mattered. So I think, in that way also, the peer support, and especially if it is trained and all that, however minimal that may be, the number of people,
Hmm.
I'm not talking about the minimality of training in terms of content
Hmm.
or duration, but how many trained peer support providers are there, uh, is anybody's guess. But I think, I mean, having gone through the same thing in 2022, 21, 22, I can say that it's a big gap we can bridge. Okay, because we can do multiple things, nah? Right? And if we know so many more languages and are, more familiar even with the so-called rarer identities and, the cultural context and all that, so even the better. Because, yeah, we know, because we are able to, what do you say? And I know, Deepthi, you're very capable of that not just provide pure support in one way, like emotional or mental health support, but like you just said, fi- go the whole hog of finding out who is this apt support provider, especially if it's in different physical locations, right? And also if they need a safe space, all these things. So I think, I'm not saying that the people who are trained in this course should have all that, need to be able to, but some of us fortunately are able to do those multiple things. And I think that is important. This whole, the first responders, I think, we have lots of responsibility, but also for many times, I think, of course, we have to be also be careful when we want to be or be designated as first responders. But I
Hmm.
think, uh, there are multiple things that we can and we should do, right? That's all I was trying to say also, right? That the peer support, many times, and this is also for people who are watching, listening now or later, that at least in India, even in the metros, many times it is about metros or even smaller towns or whatever. Many times, this first responders are just so crucial in the LGBTQIVP plus GSRM for queer trans community, whatever we call ourselves or others call us. Yeah. And yeah. And you want to add anything to that? Otherwise, you just want to go a little bit more into your other work, Deepthi?
No, I think you pretty much addressed the gap that is still there, and not just the gap in the need, but also like not just the gap in the need for more counselors or and peer counselors, also the knowledge gap, right? Knowledge gap and the openness, knowledge gap that we sometimes as peer counselors have, also the knowledge gap that queer formative therapists have, knowledge gap that the mainstream therapists have. So there is a lot of gaps to be filled, and yeah, time, effort, and leadership, motivation, motivation from the leadership is what I feel will make the change.
Yeah, because one thing I have seen, for almost uh, being part of multiple things within our community, crisis never stop.
Yeah, yeah.
Unfortunately, like um, fortunately, I think we are a community constantly in crisis in whatever.
Yeah,
And yeah, and I think also sometimes the more you've seen of it, the more, as you say, you recognize something is a crisis, and you realize that we need to address it. And sometimes there's some part of us is saying maybe we are the ones who are capable of addressing it, right? And it just happens. And yeah, and there's only so much that you can hand over, you can give, because if the
yeah,
happening, where is the time to sit and say, I will train these people, I will pass over the not that we have any baton to pass over or we're saying we are burdened or something, but people also should not consider this gatekeeping or feeling that, oh, somebody is only they want to do it, or only they think they're capable of doing it, or they want to do this for what do you call prestige and name. Please, crisis intervention is exhausting. Okay,
yeah.
all enjoyable, right? And as a human, even you, if you are not in that crisis situation, technically, once you try providing the assistance, you automatically become part of that crisis situation, right? And you know,
Yeah,
uh,
for a long time.
uh,
It's
hello.
because crisis situations. Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
Hello?
Yeah, yeah. Continue. Sorry. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So I was saying crisis situations are not like, oh, they're rescued, oh, they're in the shelter, it's over. It doesn't end. It doesn't end for them, it doesn't end for the people involved.
Yes, yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
correct.
Yeah. It's a
Yeah,
long drawn.
long run
Yeah.
process. And what happens is, no, sometimes when you say, okay, fine, supposing, say, somebody has been, I mean, there's no formal training for this, right? From observation or
True.
along with some of us, somebody else we think is capable of doing it, and somehow they're unable to handle certain things sometimes, right?
Mm.
So again, you come back into it, and which is why, I have seen, I mean, happens with me, and it's happened with very close friends. I mean, they'll be like, okay, fine, let me chill. I will, we've trained, or these people are experienced and stuff like that. And even if you're not even monitoring some situation, it just will come back at you, right? Because, um,
Mm.
yeah, because somewhere something is falling apart, and if something is falling apart means someone is falling apart. We cannot relax. We cannot rest.
Yeah.
Right, right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because this is not about guilt. This is about responsibility. It's
Yeah.
about being part of community, and the pain that you experience about someone else's pain, right? We cannot sit quiet
Hmm.
and shut up. Yeah, however much we think we can. I think for some of us, yeah, I mean, like, we don't know how long, how far, but as long as we do it, I think we need to continue doing it. I know people who've been doing this for 20 years or
Hmm.
longer than that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, they keep doing. They've done their best and they're still doing their best to get other people into the whole thing, and them to
Hmm.
hand over. That somehow is not, as I said, and you also know this very well, there are multiple things happening simultaneously, even in one situation, okay, in one,
Hmm.
yeah, crisis.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, right. And that disproportionate availability of the human being who is equipped in so many ways to be able to handle it
Hmm.
is so lacking, unfortunately. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm dwelling on this because of how I find that the as I said, the volumes of crisis are always growing, but the types of
Yeah.
crisis, is just mind-boggling. It's mind-boggling, shocking. Like, I, I mean, what is it that the fundamental insecurity of the cishet people, right? I think
Yeah.
like they just
Yeah.
want to, yeah, they just want to, मतलब ना किसी को बेघर करना चाहते हैं, okay, on one side, उनको
Hmm.
attack करना चाहते हैं, I mean, no, physically assault, okay, within
Yeah.
a so-called family, or yeah, joint family, household. On one side they come out, I mean, tragically, can't have to mention,
Hmm.
Hasini kind of. Yeah. I mean, of course, nobody's perfect. Of course, there's conflict. We know there's so much conflict within the community, so much of,
Hmm.
know,
Oh yeah.
a class, caste,
Yeah.
uh, and stuff like that. But I mean, like, assaulting, killing, or driving someone to the extreme, this thing, oh my gosh, I mean, how long? Yeah, it's just simply draining and pulling us down. Is that what the dispensation wants? I don't know. Okay. Yeah. So, which is why, again and again, I can completely empathize with people who say, yeah, I'm fine with what I'm doing. I don't want to be open, right? I don't want to
Hmm.
say anything more. I don't want to say anything at all, right?
Hmm.
Going on with, yeah. And sometimes, it's sad that, like, some of us now, we are on multiple things. Like, say, for example, we're talking on this platform. Is it even possible to
Yeah.
quantify how many crises are there? What have you learned? How much? Because, by the time you're doing that, it's something, to somebody else somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
again and again, I'm coming back to, again, the lesser known identities or the lesser visible ones. Okay. And,
Hmm.
point, if you don't mind, but, about lesbians, for instance. Okay. You being
Hmm.
openly, right? On one side,
Yeah.
say trans men, intersex, aces like me, and non-binary trans people don't understand language issue, whatever, yeah, but but it is no different for lesbians, largely for bi people, for queer, cis queer women, fluid queer women, whatever, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, is it even a fair question to ask why? I don't know.
Sorry. Why? What?
Why, the so-called, uh, you know long known identities like lesbians or bisexual or whatever still somehow are not so open in any queer trans discourses. I mean, the visibility, should I call it, or the lack of visibility, the unwillingness to accept somebody, I don't know, it's a host of things, right? But
I think in a heavily patriarchal country, just surviving as a female bodied person is so hard. And then there are already layers like, oh, you have to be a mother, or you are of a certain caste, or you're uneducated, or you're dark skinned. You put one more layer like sexuality. It kind of, in some cases, becomes the last thing they want to prioritize because they're coping with everything else, which is already there. And fighting all these and then taking up the sexuality battle, which I'm assuming typically people like start fighting this when they're like, I think 22, 23, or sometimes earlier, when the parents are like, oh, we should get you married, you're marriageable age now. That's when they start really thinking of these. And that too, it's people who have on some level have had the visibility that being in love with another woman is a possibility even, right? So there are so many things. There's lack of visibility. I mean, yeah, Bollywood is making movies, but watch it with, forget their family or even friends, right? So it's going to take a while before people are even aware, because even like I'm now very visibly masculine presenting. Like, I have really short hair. Unfortunately, we can't see the video, but yeah, so I'm quite visibly masculine, and I'm out at my current workplace. And when I go to events or when I go to certain meetings, I know at least some of them clock me as queer. I mean, if people have seen decent number of movies and are born and brought up in cities, they will clock me, and I understand it. And they distance themselves sometimes. I'm like, okay, like mostly cis het men, or like cis, I can't assume het, but like cis men distance themselves. I'm like, great, good for me. But on the flip side, I do notice a lot of instances where, a lot of women, I'm not here going to assume all of them are hitting on me, but there are a lot of women, and they would give me that second look, and I'm like, okay, what is happening here? So I'm saying, like, I've like had a lot of situations when I was younger where I grew up, like, I studied in hostel and everything, so I know there are a lot of women who suppress their urge of even needing to explore that side of themselves. And I feel like if our society in general, not just our society, is not this heavily cishet, people would have had the opportunity or brain space to, like, even think, oh, what is this part of me? What is this feeling? We are so controlled by one narrative, the heteronormative narrative, that you just don't want to consider. You're just told not to consider anything else. Like, you're born a woman, you get married, you have kids, settle.
లేకపోతే సెట్ ఎప్పుడు సెటిల్ అవుతారు కదా.
పెళ్ళైపోయింది కదా, పిల్లలు గుడ్ న్యూస్ ఎప్పుడు? I hear all this from my friends, some of my friends who have gotten married in the last 4 years, and they're like, we don't want kids, but everybody's like, oh, good news eppudu. I'm like, good luck.
Yeah, correct. Yeah,
Mm. They have their battles to fight. I can only listen.
yeah, right, completely. Right. Yeah, and you know what? Thank you so much for saying, and that's a fantastic answer you gave that as long as, and unfortunately we know, not just in India, South Asia, almost the whole
Yeah.
world, I think patriarchy, especially patriarchy itself is dominant, but and of one only, except that here it is dominant caste and there it's dominant race, wherever. But and caste and race are also very interlinked. Yeah.
Yeah.
So actually, you know what? AMAB people who are
Hmm.
non-binary, trans, or whichever, whatever they are like. I mean, they're being male presenting until they started, openly, if not expressing or involuntarily or not sort of, involuntarily their queerness or their sexuality or fluidity was emerging. They say being AMAB, we find it a big disadvantage. Okay. So essentially, that's patriarchy playing in a different way, you know? Right.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And so, brown patriarchy, for as people abroad call it,
Yeah.
right?
I think
Yeah.
men, even patriarchy, as much as it is, it translates into men in control, or masculinity in control. People need to understand that it equally, if not more, hurts those men
Correct.
also.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
In, in fact, for some of them, if they are not, that's not a justification. But what I see is sometimes that's the only way they know to be, or that's the only way they can be, because otherwise they feel they can't survive or whatever. Right.
So if they want to be a certain way, patriarchy hurts them. Like if there is, a, let's say, cishet man who loves wearing nail paint,
Mm-mm.
does not make him any less masculine, but there is so much shame he would get for it.
Mm-mm. Shame and ridicule and everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know, the thing is that that's such a lovely example, because I have seen, right from even my high school, where, periodically
Hmm.
would, and people, they would be like, oh, oh, they have a sister, and what if they have a sister or not, or
Yeah.
whatever, or cousin, mother, whatever, aunt, what if they took nail paint? Many times, as children, whether we are in school or
Yeah.
institution, or if we have access to something colorful, we would put it somewhere, right? Many times on.
Curiosity. Yeah. Curiosity.
So, if somebody did it, no, instead of nail polish, nail paint, whatever, they just did it with regular paint or, sketch
Hmm.
or crayon, that time I'm like, oh,
Hmm.
the thing is, because it can be washed off, right? Literally, and
Yeah.
child has done it, and or వాళ్ళకి తోచక చేశారు or something.
Hmm.
And but when it is nail paint, something which seems as so simple as that, the whole thing becomes so different, because, oh, you've chosen it, you're deliberately putting it. What is deliberate, and you the cost of
Hmm.
that? And I still remember a Dalit feminist, het but very queer, trans affirmative person was talking about handkerchiefs. Oh, this is male handkerchief. This is
Yeah.
girls and all that. And someone like me, I grew up in Chennai, as you know. Hot, hotter, hot, humider, you know.
Yeah.
So, and me, I say, oh, I'm a hot bod, but all the time I used to be sweating, sweating, sweating. Okay.
Hmm.
For me, what that so-called male handkerchief only was insufficient. Literally, carry a
Hmm.
face towel or something. I have torn uniform pockets over it. Something so fundamental. And people,
Hmm.
boys used to make fun, girls used to make fun, teachers used to ask, why are you carrying that around till they don't see me sweating and then saying, oh, it's already soaked and all that, that kind of thing. Something as so simple, so trivial over,
Hmm.
for many of us, it's not even a choice, convenience, necessity, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's a basic necessity. Yeah.
So, but oh my gosh, you're carrying a face towel to school. I mean, what even is that? Why is it your problem? Okay, why is
Hmm.
it his problem? Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So it is so ridiculous that yeah, these kind of things, as if there's not any other thing that you need to worry about in the world, or right?
Hmm.
That is actually patriarchy working its way into people's lives insid
Absolutely.
almost invisibly, but actually these small things make a big difference, kind of, right?
Yeah.
So it is so simple and so stupid and silly, but you will have to tolerate ridicule. Sometimes you'll have to get back at people. Are
Yeah.
yaar,
Yeah.
are yaar, you're wearing nail polish, no, or you're carrying that big men's handkerchief, no. So that is why I said, okay, fine. But supposing I say something else to you, which I find, I don't know, strange or funny or something, will you like it? That is never. And this whole thing, the whole thing
Hmm.
about only one kind of normalcy being accepted, being allowed.
Hmm.
That is where the issue is. It's just this kerchief for nail polish or hair dye is just one representation of it. The whole problem is, something which is supposedly allowed, right?
Hmm.
And it's ridiculous that these things are literally thrust down your throat early. So, these so-called educational institutions, I don't know, they are doing anything but educate us. Like, they're educating us about perhaps what should.
I think again, when you're saying, oh, AMAB people can wear this, AFAB people can wear this, and like it's like somebody deciding for me. I can't even decide what I want to wear. It's that bad. Yeah.
Someone,
No, but it's also capitalism, marketing, gendering clothes is essentially marketing, right? Oh, pink is for girls, blue is for boys. Who decided this? Marketing. Yeah. So,
yeah, and because our natural tendency as individuals to do something else is what is interpreted as rebellion, resistance, or some,
yeah.
not what we're trying to do. We are just
Yeah.
doing in the way we know to, we find comfortable. That's all.
Correct. Correct. Like right now, I wear a lot of like to work, or mostly I just wear. I've been buying clothes in men's section for about 5, 6 years now, and now I exclusively have only shirts, t-shirts, or even kurtas that I buy in men's section. For me, it works better because they're cheaper, also comfortable fit, and like there are people who like mostly in family people whom I'm not out to yet, like they all will be like, oh, why are you wearing like shoes like that? I'm like, this is comfort for me. And if I meet like some new set of people whom I'm not out to, because for me some places I'm out, and if it's a new place, I don't push and say oh, I'm a lesbian or I'm queer. I'm like, let the conversation flow. Let's see where it goes. Then if need be, I'll talk about it. So I've gotten a lot of comments. For me, it's like I'm comfortable. Oh, why do you have short hair? Why don't you grow your hair? No, I'm comfortable like this. Right? For me, I mean, a lot of people I feel around me, at least the circles that I go in, which is mostly queer circles, are pushing this boundary and choosing comfort over, pleasing somebody else, which is amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and this is a very beautiful and a very meaningful way of saying somebody has to do based on think their convenience, whichever, and
Hmm.
trust it on someone, and some many people maybe like that. Okay, but again, their whole questioning, why are you not following or why are you doing this, is coming from their insecurity, their discomfort. Okay, which is not what we are trying to cause. If yeah, it's the same thing, na? Abnormal versus normal, comfort, discomfort, secure versus insecure,
Yeah.
right?
And they decide what's normal.
Yeah, true.
Funny.
But what not want to understand or accept, rather, they understand but they don't. Your normalcy is abnormal to me, except that I am not saying that, right? But
Hmm.
said that again, you will think that I'm just trying to be contentious. You do not realize that it's just impression or our perspective of it. Okay, that your
Hmm.
normalcy was. We are not trying to, stoop down.
Hmm.
So, you actually, talked about, and I'm bringing this up because of your association with Real Desires. Uh,
Hmm.
no, um, we know that yes, Bollywood and maybe all the other are trying, but
Hmm.
we were at that benchmark. Okay. I don't even think there are too many benchmarks per se, but
Hmm.
also I think the reason for all these queer film festivals or events which we sort of, what do you call it? Even art expression, performing art, whichever kind of art,
Hmm.
against following, heteropatriarchy, right? Yeah, and
Hmm.
which is why I think one of the fundamental reasons these film festivals and all are important. Although, like many things in the queer trans circles nowadays, are critiqued as, oh, they're very elitist and all that. But I don't completely agree, because assertion has to be of different kinds in different spaces, na? Right?
Yeah. See, again, different spaces cater to different, how do I put this? Different audience, right?
Right. Yeah.
So I've always loved how progressive or aware the people who I worked with, I volunteered with when it came to Real Desires. So even if one person has an issue with a certain movie when visiting and reviewing, even if one or two people have an issue saying, oh, that dialogue, that word used is not okay. So usually as a team, what we do is, okay, let's figure out how to get it fixed. If we can't get it fixed, we reject.
Right.
And this is looked at from various lenses, whether it's the caste lens, gender lens, sexuality lens, versus some of the movies I've seen screened at other film festivals. Like I've attended one film festival which is quite big in the country, and some of them were quite questionable. So again, I think the audience there is much more accepting if it comes from popular people doesn't necessarily have to be authentic. So again, different people pick different layers and work with it. So, and then Bollywood still doing bare minimum, not even bare minimum. So yeah, I mean, queer films just go to festivals. That's where, or like, write to me, write to Ritash. We will see where we can get them screened, where we can pull out those movies. Because, like, as much as there is brilliant content from outside the country, there are so many people who want to do it. So, who want to bring out their stories in whatever format, right? So, I mean, there are bad ones also. Bad in the sense, like, again, cishet people doing queer stuff just because queerness is the in thing, and they will get everything wrong, and they will not listen when we tell them that this is problematic, this is not okay. But like, I don't remember where I read this, but I think the way to get over a bad movie is to make more movies on the same topic. So, at the end of 10 years, you'll have 70 great movies, 20 decent movies, 10 worst movies. We can forget about those 10 worst movies. The point is to just make more content, whether it's movie, short film, whatever it is.
Mm, right. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, so that's the thing, no? Huh? No, no. Oh, sorry, I was just distracted. Person called.
That
Yeah.
that's that's my partner sitting in the other room and doing this.
Oh, okay, okay. Yeah, thank. Yeah, yeah, friend. Thank you so much for clarifying that, because yeah, it's good that you saw this. Like, I just wanted to ensure, because there've been times like these things well, Deepthi.
Right, right.
So I just wanted to ensure that this is a safe space and
Yeah.
respectful space. Yeah. No, no, no,
Sure.
no problem. Thank you for yeah. Okay. So I mean, Patricia, I think you're also spreading queer joy in a very different way. All right. Yeah. Okay. Uh, so yeah.
Absolutely.
And we like this because, much as I'm, especially I have to say this in my context, because asexuals are apparently, why on my face I've been told, oh, you're asexual, like so sad. I mean, the body language was all about that. You're lonely, you're boring. Well, I have a partner for 22 years and I'm also Pandro. It's possible. Okay. So, people, yeah, you can also. I don't know. I mean, flirting is as human as not flirting. So, yeah, as long as people, uh, are respectful in that. Okay. Right. I mean, in our DMs also sometimes we get stuff. Okay. So, yeah, that's a very important point also. I mean, so many important points here, Dipti. Dipti, also it's 10th. Am I keeping you away, including am I keeping you away from Patricia? Uh, Started late, I know, but it cannot go on for too long. Yeah, so I will probably yeah, I will end this soon. Yeah, so I will end this quickly. Okay. Um. Yeah. So anything specific? We have discussed a host of things. Uh, But is there anything? Yes, we are going to go on date now. Yeah. All right. I can see that. Well, I can see the anxiety for it, not anxiety, the eagerness for it. Okay. So yeah. So anything that you want to say just as we end? Yeah.
I wasn't sure it was going to end so soon. I don't have like end points, but I think um, not generalizing stuff was one of the earliest point we talked about. Like, oh, if somebody a lesson at being open to listening to others' conversations. That is out constructing a building or being a peer support for lenses. If you don't know the lenses, learn about touch screens. So she's a blind person and she's like, everything is touch screen. It's so hard for me. And I'm like, wow, I never thought of this. I never thought something like a touch screen would be like something which is not inclusive. So I think, especially when it comes to stuff like policy or decisions that impact a large population, consulting population, if you're writing something about queer people, talk to them. If you're doing a curriculum about queer people, which I think more and more people should do, like people who are designing curriculums, see what can be talked about from various lenses, not just queerness, gender, sexuality, caste, class, language. Again, I hope there are more and more literature labels and everything, not just in Tamil, in Kannada, in Telugu, in Malayalam. So that's been my point in so many places in the last 3 years. And now I'm at a point where I'm like, I'm going to write it myself.
Good.
I'll definitely reach out to your mom, Ritash.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Sorry. All I was saying was, it's not that I wanted to end it soon. I just thought it was getting late for you.
No, no.
Yeah.
No, it is getting late also. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I just realized with you, as
No,
I
no.
said, no, that's a good way of putting it. A little bit on CQC. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean,
So,
sorry, continue. Yeah.
no, so I think I heard a little bit of what you were talking about CQC. 5, 6 of us used to meet in cafes. So I was like, okay, let's just name it like catch up sort of a thing that I did for 3 years almost. During COVID, it was online. But before COVID, we would meet. I mean, I would just send the invite to the known people. Like for example, I think the first time we had about 7 or 8 people, and then I said, okay, let's do this next month. Bring your queer friends if they're comfortable. So slowly that circle increased, and now I'm not doing it. In the last few years, I've not done it. But I still know that people who have met through that space are still in touch with each other. They would catch up. They would sometimes I see like there are groups, uh, online groups that are formed because of this offline space, and I see them making plans. They're like, oh, let's meet for dinner. So like if there are like 20 people on the group, 2 3 people are like, oh, I am free, I will come. So I love how they have become like friends and stuff, because for me, my ultimate dream for every queer person is that they have two queer friends. Because for me, a lot of people would come to support spaces, not a lot, but like some people would come to support spaces and they're like, oh, I will find a partner and that's it. My life is set. I'm like, it doesn't work like that. If you come with that mind space, I mean, I'm not going to say don't know, don't come, but I at least hope you make two friends or at least one friend when you come to the support group. So I'm very grateful that people have come to the meetings, made friends. Some did not all made friends, but some of them made friends, and I'm very thankful that they all like still keep in touch. Yeah.
Superb. Yeah. Thank you. Okay. I think I got confused with because there are,
Yeah.
there's the Trans Kitchen in Chennai, in Kovai,
I
and
know. Yeah.
yeah,
Kovai Kitchen.
unfortunately, I
Yeah.
know there's been lots of back and forth about that. You know what I mean, right? So yeah, I don't want to badmouth anybody, but we know that in closed spaces, a lot of
Yeah.
stuff has been going on about this. So anyway, yeah. So, but yo, that's a that is such a cool concept. Not just concept. That you actually did that, and yeah, I mean, uh, conversations, connections are so vital.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think there's no, yeah, saying calling them vital itself is an understatement because,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, the fundamental thing is I mean, I think we've been saying this in many of the conversations. I think, since you have also attended some of the lives earlier, all the time you're like, queer the internet, queer Insta, queer this, queer that,
Hmm.
because, we are here and queer for long and forever. So, for people who think that, it suddenly happened, please, I think you're mistaken. Like we say, we've been there ever since all human beings are there. Maybe earlier, like I think some conversation somebody said,
Yeah.
"Oh, we queer people came first, and then you know." So
Hmm.
so yeah, and just because it's undocumented or not documented in language which we can understand, or some insecure person destroyed
Hmm.
it, doesn't mean we were not there. Okay, and
Hmm.
yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Plus, also, yes, these online offline connections are, I think, the ones which are going to take us, yeah. Like, I remember, I mean, I was leaving one very toxic workplace. I think you know which one I mean, right? Which were, I don't know, I mean, yeah, it it just happens, I think. Whatever it is, this damn savior complex is not going away when, straight or not so straight Savarna able feminists are running these organizations. It was different 20, 25 years ago, but not anymore. So anyway,
Hmm.
so organizations can come and go or whatever, it's for them to this thing, but we are always around, like I said, I used to say, actually people think that community needs organizations. They do, perhaps to some extent. More the organizations need community, to survive and
Absolutely.
to take ahead
Absolutely.
their agenda and all. That's the thing, na. The agenda, yeah, that's another thing is we're trying to do this conversation. The agenda is
Yeah.
to not have an agenda, yeah. And
Yeah.
amidst all that, we talk so much and for so long. Okay,
Yeah.
so
Okay.
can't thank you enough. చాలా సంతోషంగా ఉంది. రొంబ రొంబ నన్రి, మిక్క నన్రి, మగిழ்ச்சி. Okay, and
நம்ம
Patricia,
இன்னொன்னு பண்ணலாம்.
என்ன
நம்ம
சொல்லுங்க?
இன்னொன்னு பண்ணலாம். பட் நம்ம இன்னொன்னு பண்ணலாம். Like
Sure.
next time we do a live, okay? I'll be technically prepared,
Mm.
but we'll do it either in Tamil or Telugu.
Yes,
That
yes,
is my
yes. Yeah.
request.
Yeah. Oh, I was actually, before you joined, but you also know this. Okay. I always say, because I'm sure you know so many things. We want to have these as bilingual, trilingual, multilingual conversations. The only thing why I keep going
Yes.
to English is because actually it's good that people from other countries are also joining. At least a few names I
Yeah.
recognize. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, so
But we need to cater to our people also,
correct, correct.
no?
So to be able
Yeah.
to translate and keep track of time and not to get to go
Yeah.
completely haywire in what we this thing. So I am, so that is why that's why in between I was sometimes organically, sometimes even deliberately I was using Telugu and Tamil. But
Yeah.
இல்ல
Yeah.
அது ரொம்ப முக்கியம். We want to do that so
Yes,
much
yes.
more. In fact, as I said, we started these Insta lives without an agenda. The idea was to just have
Right,
conversations,
right.
right? But luckily, as I said, no, there is plus and minus. It so many people from
Hmm.
so many places responded, so
Hmm.
quickly,
Hmm.
right? And started. And but the beauty of some of that is not just the uniqueness and the enrichment that we got. The most important, like you said, the whole thing about us connecting, conversing
Hmm.
across the thing. And
Hmm.
gosh, I mean, I many things are getting demystified for me. Unfortunately, um, even the who I think the privileged queers are not at all having this thing. Not that they are the benchmark or we have to do everything by them. What I'm just saying
Hmm.
is that uh, it's. I mean, I don't know what it gives me. Sometimes hope, sometimes despair. That even if the people with all the wherewithal are having it so bad, where do the rest of the people go? Kind
It's
of.
yeah, I mean it's just different struggles. It's not like,
Mm,
this is a competition, right? We all are going through different stuff.
mm.
So it's just like be kind to each other if you can, or just walk away, because it's again sometimes it becomes an effort to be kind also in some situations where they're absolutely traumatized themselves. So I think if you can just be kind or be silent.
Yeah. Okay, so we will end on that note. Thank you again to Deepthi, and special thanks to Patricia for patiently, right? Yeah, listening, participating, watching, and to everybody else from wherever, the time zone, whichever thing you have joined or are going to watch later. Um, People will continue watching later also. I've noticed that.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I will share this and tag you. Okay.
sure.
But
Yes.
நீங்க சொன்ன மாதிரி, I mean, தமிழ்லயும் தெலுங்குலயும் பண்ணலாம். We can have only Tamil and only Telugu, so that there's not too much of live translation which has to happen, right? I mean,
இல்ல
because that,
actually நம்ம once we can do with Shiva
uh,
just Telugu.
ஆமா,
No need to translate, just like similar points or same
correct,
points
correct.
ஏற்கனவே பண்ணது அந்த
Yeah,
மாதிரி.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Actually, the interesting thing is there are two
I
Shivas,
really
no?
have to go.
There is Nirangal Shiva and
Oh,
there's Nestam Shiva.
oh, ஆமாமா. I was talking about நேஸ்தம் சிவா.
Yeah,
பட் நிரஞ்சன் சிவா அவங்க ஆன்லைன் வருவாங்களான்னு
yeah,
தெரியல எனக்கு.
yeah.
பட்
Not.
கேட்டு பார்க்கலாம்.
Correct. But
Yeah.
there are so many other Tamil speakers, no, whom we know who are
Yes.
online. So yeah. And we've done that actually. Yeah. So that's the thing.
Yeah.
Actually, I was trying to drag Shiva into this, but I think again, Shiva keeps having connectivity issues all the time.
Right.
Plus, they
Right.
also get dragged in so many directions
Right.
that, you know,
Right.
yeah. So again, yeah, shukriya, shukran, salam, thank you,
Thank you
dhanyawad.
for having me.
Okay,
And
mikka nandri.
thank you.
Yeah, all the
Okay.
best. Take
Good night.
care. Yeah, all right.
Take care. Bye.
Bye. Thanks.